It's the intergalactic soul, the honorable brother, the revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Power Bombshells. I am Mel. That is Sam. And we are just two broads talking about the wrestling that we like. And before we get started today, guys, we've got a couple of rules. And before I let Sam get started, is that remember that let's be graceful because Sam's voice is still healing. We just wanted to check in with you guys. This is only going to, well, it'll be an hour from now, I guess, because Mel was late. She had the
That's okay. Stream, because I haven't been here in a while. StreamYard kicked me out. So
there you go. So it's always something around here, these parts. So we're gonna give her the grace to use her voice as she needs today, and I'm gonna primarily lean on her DDT daily DDT article for my Janelle Grant portion. We're gonna fill you in on a couple of things that we really wanted to talk about and give you guys a little update. So this won't be a super long show, and I know we say that a lot, but this is really true because we want to make sure that we're taking care of everybody.
Yeah, because I was like, of course, there are other things like came up last night that we could talk about, and I was like, no, we probably should try to stick to just the two topics. And then, Chris Jericho showed up at GCW last night.
Yeah, I heard that.
And all that stuff and what that whole thing. And I was like, of course, when I'm trying to limit the topics we talk about, that has to happen.
It never, you know what? It wouldn't be wrestling if it didn't do whatever the heck it wanted and left the rest of us out of the deal.
Yeah.
So, and what we're going to be doing going forward, we'll keep you guys posted and we'll just let you know as things are going on because it's just timing. But we do want to talk about a couple of these things because they are super important. So
yeah, my voice is coming back. It was like 2 weeks ago, it seemed to be back to normal. And then I went to Ashe last weekend and they had loud music playing. So to speak up so that people could hear me, and it strained my voice. And then it was really sore all day Sunday. And it went back to the way it had been post-surgery. It was crackling a lot. Did that part of Monday, and then it seems to have come back, but I don't want to push the limits too much. Okay. So we figured let's try an hour and see what happens. If it continues to get stronger, maybe next week and we can go a little bit longer. And, we've got World's End pre-show coming up in a couple of weeks too. So, so just bear with us. It's a work in progress, and we're seeing how it plays out. Just let it play out.
Let it play out. It's okay. It's a long-term storytelling thing.
It is, exactly.
Except unfortunately, life is the booker. And when that happens,
right.
It just life is not interested. You want to talk about a booker who ain't interested in your fantasy booking?
Yeah, right. Not
the universe. So, but we do. I mean, again, so
Nikki,
Nikki is used to the sound. Learn to love the sound of my voice, people, or just I'm sorry. I think that. You'll have the memories of the Roz laugh, Nikki. That's what's special. Because it's just like any other thing. Because those cords are muscles and stuff. Like they're ligaments and muscles, and you need to rest.
Right, you do.
The good news about Sam is that she's writing away like a madwoman. So if you want to know what her thoughts and feels are, or what she's thinking about or talking about, she's been pumping out.
Thankfully, I still have that outlet. I've been mostly with Wrestling Inc. just because that's the one that I have to do several times a week. But I am back doing some stuff with Daily DDT, and thank you to everybody that I write for, especially my editors, Miles at Wrestling Inc. and Raphael with Daily DDT. They have been wonderful through all of this. They have given me as much time as I have needed, especially Daily DDT. I took a little bit longer getting back over there, and they have been wonderful through this process. And then, of course, everybody at Fight Game Media has been wonderful too. Thank you again. I have said it a million times, but thank you to our she's not even an honorary broad anymore. She is a broad now. She is our we've been having to use the Freebird rule with Keela, who has thankfully stepped in for me several times, and I truly appreciate her. And of course I thank Mel for holding down the fort while I was gone. And of course we had the 2-week hiatus, but it was something that was needed for both of us. And so now we are back, and hopefully we'll be here for a while, and we won't have to be going on on hiatuses like that again, or at least not anytime soon.
And I mean, let's keep in mind also that lots of holidays are approaching, so we're going to take that obviously into account.
Right, of course,
of the physical nature of just having holiday things and the emotional nature of the holidays this year, especially considering what's all going on. So it's like, as all of you know, sometimes this can be an incredibly difficult time of year for people.
Absolutely.
Really great time of year. It can also be kind of a tough time of year. So we'll take that one again. We're going to week by week it for a little while.
Yeah.
Because I think between Christmas and New Year's, we want everyone taken care of, and we want to make sure that we're respecting your time, respecting each other's time.
For sure.
Need to be hugging, and obviously you all, I know this group will understand that. So, and thank you for supporting us through the entire thing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We do try and respond to everybody, because and any other social interactions. I'm kind of shifting to the butterfly as much as I can, because
I am too. I'm spending less time on the other app.
I'm putting it up right now because it's the quickest way to find us.
Yeah, I'm still there because that's where a lot of my followers are, and that's where a lot of people go to see my work and things like that. I'm trying to migrate them over to the other place. And so I'm not leaving anytime soon. That could change, but as of right now, I'm just trying to have two public places to be found, because I know some people who I have friends who have completely left Twitter, and so they are and posting my work there. And then for the people who are still there, I am still doing some live tweeting there, but I'm also kind of doing it over on trying to get in the habit of doing it on Blue Sky as well. But we're both there. We haven't made a separate Powerbombshells account. That will probably come once depending on how much we start using it. But as of right now, you can find us individually on there as well. And we promote, I try to promote the show there. And Fight Game Media is also over on the other app, and some of the other people who are in the Fight Game Media family are there as well. So definitely, if you're not familiar, Blue Sky has starter packs, and Garrett made one for us, and it has a lot of the Fight Game people and our little corner of the wrestling internet. So we can help you find people over there if you decide to migrate over there. But for the time being, still on Twitter as well.
Seems, just because I know everyone's not sold yet, but I also know a lot of people who are basically like their drop dead date is the end of the year. And so and I think it's a healthier, better thing. I like the way it's managed and moderated. I think that separating the stuff is one of the most revelation. It's more like something like Reddit, which I actually liked the way that worked, because I could keep my interests all separate on separate timelines, essentially.
Right. That makes sense.
But either way, because, we don't want to support toxic assholes and their AI experimentation on us as much as possible. We may be migrating. So,
yeah,
but we won't, again, like both Sam and I are still on it's going to take a while to break the habit anyway.
Yeah, some people have said that they have moved Blue Sky, the icon, to where Twitter is, so that they go to Blue Sky first. I haven't done that yet, but I have heard that some people are doing that to break the habit of going to Twitter first, that they put Blue Sky in that spot and move Twitter further away.
I need to put it in the same folder as all my other socials.
Yeah, mine's in the same folder. It's just I have Blue Sky is not in that spot yet, but it might be.
And I've got mine up there because I couldn't get the same exact handle. So
yeah, I don't have the underscore, but I did keep the
you got yours,
173 at the 1713 at the end, and so it's the same. It just the underscore is not there. So I tried to keep it the same. That way, if people came over from Twitter, they could find me there. So yeah, so it's that what you see on the screen right now without the
underscore. So
yep.
minus the underscore, just smash that 1713 right into the end there, and you're all set. And if you have questions for us, obviously you can message us on the other social.
I mean, we're still responding.
We're still on Instagram. We're still on. We're gonna keep checking them. Like Sam said, we don't have a Power Bombshells Blue Sky yet because it takes time to set things up, and well, time is not something that we necessarily.
And we were playing with it and just making sure that this is something we were both gonna actively use before creating yet and like a third account. Well, I guess a second account for both of us, but before creating another account on Blue Sky, we wanted to make sure, at least for me, I wanted to make sure I was actually going to use it and be active before making a separate one.
100%. All right. Let's get down to business so that we're not here all day long and we're kind of keeping with what we said we were going to.
I know. I was like, I have to listen to my own boundaries. I was like, I hope that I'm not going to be, it's going to be like an hour and I'm like, I feel great and keep going and then regret it later today.
It's not happening because you have a co-host who is experienced at this crap and she knows that it's not worth it.
No, we got to keep.
You got to familiarize yourself with spoon theory. It will save your life.
Okay.
Trust me. It sounds silly, but it's a great thing for anybody like going through any kind of chronic or long-term illness or disability or anything else. It breaks down for you and it helps you break down for other people how it is to go through a day with these things that we have to go through the day with that are extra energy sucks on our life and brains. So you'll love it. I'll send you a link.
Please
Anywho
do.
So let's see. Do we want to do this in the fun then crappy direction?
Let's do what we normally do. Let's just go ahead and get it out of the way.
All right.
And then we'll end on, especially because I don't think this is going to take that long because there's not a whole lot of information with this. There's important information, but there's still not a whole lot. This section may not actually take very long at all. So we can start with that one.
Get the crap out the way. So, and I was relying on Sam's article, and of course don't have it here, but I've got
it.
But Sam's got it, and it's a good article, and it's very, like I said, the good news is that writing is not broken or hurt in any way, so she can keep jamming out those articles. And so December 11th, the stay on the Janelle Grant case going forward, the federal stay on the case going forward expired, and the government said that they are not going to renew that stay. So the Janelle Grant case is free to go forward in the process, which means getting this in front of a judge, hopefully, and hearing if this is going to go to court.
Right. And so, I've got the statement here. They actually didn't send this out. I knew that the 11th was when it ended, and I waited to post anything because I was like, her team is very good about sending out information and statements. And so I was waiting for it all day long, and they finally sent it like 9:30 on Wednesday night, 9:30 Eastern time. And so the press release that came out says that the United States Southern District of New York informed us that they will be letting the stay expire on Janelle Grant's lawsuit against former WWE CEO Vince McMahon, WWE executive John Laurinaitis, and WWE for sexual assault and human trafficking. This decision allows Ms. Grant to proceed with her civil charges against McMahon, Laurinaitis, and WWE while federal prosecutors continue their criminal investigation. And then Ann Callis also released a statement. Ann Callis is Janelle Grant's lawyer. She said, "We are pleased that prosecutors for the Southern District of New York have concluded that they can continue their criminal investigation while we bring forward new evidence in our civil case about the sexual exploitation carried out by Janelle Grant's abusers. For the last 6 months, Ms. Grant has patiently waited to hold Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE accountable for the sex trafficking and abuse she endured at the company on a near daily basis. Her wait is over, and now we look forward to sharing Ms. Grant's story." So based on those statements, it appears that both things are still ongoing. Janelle Grant's case is moving forward, but based on that statement, one could infer that the DOJ's investigation is still continuing. We don't know that for certain yet, but it appears, based on the wording of that statement, that appears to be what's happening here, that both things are ongoing. We do know that the federal investigation has been going on since 2023. There's been a grand jury that has been convened for a year and a half at this point. So it remains to be seen for sure if they have asked for on the DOJ side, on the federal side, not with Janelle, but the case that the feds are going through, that they have probably asked for another extension, but we don't know for sure yet because there's not been a whole lot of info. But based on that statement, that's what it appears like. But again, we don't know for sure what's going on the DOJ side of things.
And they may have what they need. They may have plenty. And it may not, because, I mean, keeping those people in grand jury mode for over a year and a half is going to start pissing judges off unless you guys start, like, I mean, the real ones, not the Dorcases that are going to end up on the bench. But, like, it must be serious, but they might have what they have. Like, they might have what they need. This might help their case. Because what comes out in discovery in Janelle's trial would be allowed, like, would anything that came out would be allowed to be used in the Fed's case. Mm-hmm. So they might, this could be a real strategic move for them to get something going with discovery where they start to get more info than they, because they've got a lot on their plate with the, I don't know. There's a lot going on. Feel like, I'm not going to say connected because that's a little bit like get my tinfoil hat on instead of my Santa hat.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like a lot of these people hang out together because they're all rich and do whatever they want because they're rich. And it's interesting because, and also I think that, you know, with the impending administration, we'll call it, I think that people are anxious to try and get things moving. They only have about a month. We've talked about
this a million times. The SDNY is extremely busy. Bang. Like, they're going to be retrying the Harvey Weinstein case. They've got the Diddy case. There's a lot going on. Those are just the high profile ones that we talk about. Like, there's so many other cases. They're one of the busiest in the United States. There's a lot going on.
I think they pushed the Jay-Z situation off on a different court because they were like, not up in here. No.
So yeah, there's a lot that's going on there. So again, there's not a whole lot of information right now with the Janelle Grant stuff other than the stay has expired, which allows her to proceed with whatever that means. If they need to amend that lawsuit in any way, that can be done now. They did have the bill of discovery against Dr. Carlin Colker and Peak Wellness. Yeah. And they've got that going on as well. So I expect that we'll probably start hearing a little bit more just because, obviously with what they're, with the DO, with it being stayed, there wasn't a whole lot of information they could put out. So, but the holidays are also coming as well. So I don't know how that's going to play into things because the government, they all like peace out a lot earlier.
Oh my gosh, most of them have already.
Right. So there may just be, we may not hear anything
Nancy Pelosi had a fall in Germany and had to have her hip replaced.
Right. Yeah. So
come on. Merry Christmas, Grandma.
Yeah, she was there for like a World War II thing and fell down some stairs apparently.
Oopsie. Well, that's what happens when your grandparents are running things. So
well, you can say that for but yeah, so we may not hear anything until the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
After the first of the year when people start coming back in to work, and then obviously the inauguration is mid-January
20th.
So Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So there's a lot. I mean, so there may be a little bit of radio silence or a little bit of a gap before we hear much more, just because holidays incoming, presidency,
and I think some people will try. I think some people will try to delay while some people will try to escalate.
Right.
And that will be clashing all the way to January 1st. Even though, again, even the judges, like, let's be real. Anybody with a government job is taking most of these days off now.
Right. Yep. And that I do want to bring up something else because it's in my article, but then we also had Eddie mentioned it as well, about the fact that about Linda McMahon. She's been nominated to be the education to be in charge of the education department, which they have said that they are going to dismantle. And so but Linda McMahon, if you somehow missed it, is named in a lawsuit.
Involving young children.
Yes. So five former ring boys came forward in late October and they filed a lawsuit against Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, WWE, and WWE's parent company, TKO, alleging that they knew about the sexual abuse that they suffered at the hands of the former ring announcer Mel Phillips and some other WWE employees as well. Mel Phillips died in 2012, so of course he is not named in the lawsuit. And so that apparently, from things I have heard, people in that circle were unaware of this lawsuit until until she was nominated, and then people were like, you need to check out this lawsuit, and they were like, what lawsuit? What are you talking about? And then they found out and they were like, oh no. So but they did.
I mean, they're gonna do it anyway, but it might save us from at least having her as the head of the Department of Education.
Yes. And so on December 6th, a federal judge granted a stay in that lawsuit because 4 days prior to that, WWE filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit due to state court jurisdictions, along with the demand of damages exceeding the $75,000 limit. The United States District Judge James K. Bredar, I hope I'm saying that correctly, ruled in favor of the stay, but the stay is pending a ruling by the Supreme Court of Maryland in regards to the Maryland Child Victims Act of 2023. The case was filed in Maryland. And so there's a possibility the CBA could repeal the statute of limitations in certain civil actions related to child sexual abuse. So there's a lot of legal things going on with that. So because of that, there is a stay in that case, but a decision is expected by August 31st of next year. So kind of the same thing we just went through with the Janelle Grant case. This case is now on hold pending what Maryland does with the CBA Act. There are other states who do have acts to protect for young victims they were abused as children that come forward as adults. We're seeing more and more of that type of thing happening. Other states in the meantime could pass similar statutes, which could also put pressure on them as well. So and with the stay we've seen, I mean, that could potentially, I believe that there are more than these 5 men who are still alive and who went through these things. That gives them the opportunity to potentially, come forward as well. Or maybe they wait and see how this plays out. And then if it goes through, perhaps, more people will come forward. It just everything is in a holding pattern, basically. Like, kind of like with the Grant stuff. Now this is kind of in a holding pattern as well. But it is out there. And so Lady B says that after what happened with Matt Gaetz, I don't expect Linda to even make it to Senate confirmation. That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
Well, what they do as soon as they figure out, what I've noticed they've been doing, and I think other people have picked up on it a little bit, is what they've been doing. If somebody doesn't pass the smell test, basically, as it were, and I'm oversimplifying this for our thing, instead of like being like, no, he's not, what they do is they just go radio silent. They back away from that person, and then they slowly let it fade out, and he'll do something like, be like, oh, I think so-and-so else would be good for this. I don't know if I'm going to have, I mean, it all remains to be seen. I haven't like totally picked anybody yet. And he starts doing that, and then the person goes away.
Right.
And either they get the hint and go away, like a lot of people are starting to do, where they're like, well, I don't want to find out on social media that I'm fired, or from like an airport like report that I'm fired, like a bunch of people did the last time around. They're just like the FBI director's like, oh, the writing's on the wall. So
I mean, on the one hand, the writing's on the wall, but on the other hand, you're giving up your power without being asked. And that's a whole other thing to be considering.
That he was appointed by the same guy, so
right,
and then he probably would have been fired. But he's I don't blame. I am on your side. I agree with you. I say stand up for it, but unfortunately, we don't have that kind of system right now.
No.
So they're rats from a sinking ship right now.
Yes. So I mean, as close as Matt Gaetz, he was obviously a big supporter of Trump and things like that. Linda McMahon served in his previous.
He was his campaign manager.
She was in. She served in his previous cabinet. She was the education secretary. Then she. I'm sorry. She was the administrator of small business administration. And the first. Right. But then she resigned from that in 2019 to join the pro-Trump PAC super PAC, America First Action. And she was the chair, and that super PAC worked to get Trump reelected in 2020. So she has worked for him in multiple capacities. And apparently she is the one who is friends with Trump now, not Vince. Seems like
that makes sense to me.
She has replaced him kind of in that relationship. It's now Linda is the important one. Linda has all the support.
I think,
however, from what I have heard, they were completely blindsided by her being named in a lawsuit where minors were abused, and that has definitely soured some things. So it is, like Lady B said, this could be a thing like with Matt Gaetz, where he just steps back and something else happens and they elect somebody probably worse than Linda McMahon. Let's face it. That's probably what will happen. So
yeah, but that tracks with their vetting process. So.
Right. There isn't really a vetting process.
Well, that's it.
They were trying to avoid that. And then there's so many questions now. There's other people that they're trying to figure out that they have, nominated, and things are coming out. And so now they're like, well, shit, do we still put these people through? So
it's like they don't even Google these people that they're picking. They don't even Google
It's like
them.
They're blinded by their money and what they can do for them and that they made major donations to get them get him reelected.
And they're kind of mostly not wrong, unfortunately.
So
this is too depressing, and we're not going to waste your.
Well, and that's why I didn't want to end the show on it. So yes, that's where we are with both cases, both the Janelle Grant case and the Ring Boys case. One, Janelle Grant her civil lawsuit can move forward. We'll see what happens with that. Probably not going to hear a whole lot of information between now and the beginning of the year. It's probably not much. And then the Ring Boys suit is on pause until or there's a decision on whether the CVA stands will be made by August 31st. So that's where we are with those. And then we will move on to
a much
lighter topic.
Yes. And Sam does cover this stuff a lot. And her editors what she can't say on here, she is saying in her articles and stuff. So you can still follow her. So either on her Blue Sky, on the other app, on the Bird,
and on both apps, I do have a link to my link tree, which if you click that gives you links to all of my work for all the places that I write for, and obviously it links to this podcast as well. And so
I noticed somebody had mentioned. Someone had said, yay, someone finally covering Janelle Grant. Ladies and gentlemen, this girl over here has been covering this Janelle Grant and speaking out and all kinds of other things that people are afraid to talk about in the wrestling sphere. Read her work because she can't yell, so she's going to be even more passionate.
Well, I appreciate you finding, I know that it has been hard to find people who are covering it. And so we're glad that you are here and that you have found it. And we've talked about this since the beginning. We've even interviewed a human trafficking expert, which you can find here. You can actually even find it on the Fight Game Media feed as well. Garrett was kind enough to put that episode up on Spotify and on the Apple feed, so that if that's where you prefer to listen to podcasts, that episode is there. Again, we appreciate Garrett for allowing us that space to have that there. So you can find it in 3 different places. And so I definitely urge you to take a listen to it, just because there's a lot of information in there. And we talk about the difference between human trafficking and sex trafficking, because there is a difference between the two, which Professor Carr was kind enough to explain and answer a lot of questions for us. So hopefully you will take the time to check that out, because there's some really important information in there.
And not only was it appreciated by someone from a member of the community who does housing for the youth that come out of the young ladies who come out of the sex trafficking and otherwise human trafficking situations, and they are actually utilizing that interview in their newsletter and their digital newsletter that they sent out, which was really fun. I did reach out to her. She's one of the people that she was someone who worked for me working with kids, and she went on to do that out in Colorado. And elevating the survivors and the victims' voices is such a huge thing. And I think even, specific to Janelle, but even on a broader scale, I think what Dr. Carr talks a lot about kind of is something that we really need to look in the mirror as a society. It's very reflective of the larger, like even the stuff that we've been whinging about a little politically here, is these things are allowed to happen because we as a society have agreed that we're going to kind of a little bit bend over and take it.
Yeah.
And when that happens, this is the kind of thing that is this is the kind of toxic thing, this horrible thing that's allowed to spread and to hurt human beings in all sorts of ways. There's been a lot of negativity going on right now with things that are outside of this year, but like elevating the survivors' voices, elevating the victims' voices, always try and think in terms, instead of like questioning like this or that, like, please talk about the victims, please talk about the survivors. Like that is, and I think that was something she really drove home in the interview. And again, Garrett was, but it's a little heavy, but it's important. And it speaks to all the things we're talking about with the societal ills that we're discussing right here. It's only going to change if we change it. And if we start to see the flags that she talks about. So, but yes, please, anybody who's here and new, we always talk about it. I will always have Sam's back on this one. She's got me back into reading legal cases, which I haven't done in years, which is fine. I mean, I could have picked some better ones, but you know.
Yeah, they're not.
But I had to pick important ones instead.
Yeah.
So I had to err on the side of importance. So there's that. Let's talk about something fun.
Let's talk about that. So as you can tell by the slate that we picked for this podcast and the title of this episode, we are talking about the surprise return of Toni Storm. But not only was it a surprise, it was a surprise in the form that she returned in. She has returned and reverted to her character for when she first arrived in AEW. She is I said OG Toni Storm. Somebody has called her vintage Toni Storm.
I just called her Progress. I mean, because back in the day, Progress didn't suck.
Progress Toni Storm.
Back in the day, the first rule of Progress Wrestling was don't be a dick, and it was awesome. And I got to see her in our hall, and
very cool.
As that's the Toni Storm I know and love. I totally marked out. I unapologetically marked all the way out when this happened. I got to see it. It was like random. I was in the hotel and it happened, and I was like, ah,
very
like,
cool.
I mean, so I am. And I see I know that, I guess the internet I didn't know this because I was obviously but apparently the internet had a meltdown about it. And I was like, guys, are you silly? Like, notwithstanding, like even Jim made this point on his show yesterday, notwithstanding that they're trying to sell an Australia show and that just so happens to be exactly where the heck she's from.
Right.
This is awesome. What are you talking about? Shut up.
I'm really, really interested to see where they.
She
Well, I
came
don't.
out and announced
Apparently,
that she
they're.
was all elite.
Yeah, like apparently, people not only were they upset about her, I guess, being reverting back to OG Toni Storm, it's because her first match back was on Rampage. That was where people.
That
That's
was a
what
big.
people.
Yeah, that was.
That's what people were
butthurt
upset
areas.
about, was that she wrestled on Rampage and then she turned around last night. She wrestled on Collision. But what my so before we get to that, before I get into
Okay.
we get into theories. So Friday night, if you don't watch Rampage, which I know a lot of people don't, but I do.
But I needed to feel at home. I needed some comfort food, and wrestling was still on.
So Toni Storm wrestled Harley Cameron, who is also from the exact same hometown, which is, you know, kind of cool that they did that, you know, they both had that moment, obviously. And so Toni, it was in one of the spots in the match, she went to do her timeless Toni close-up pose, realized what she was doing, and reverted to the devil horns. And that she used to do as her character, and because she realized what she was doing. And then last night on Collision, she wrestled again. She wrestled another fellow Aussie, Shazza McKenzie. They have history going back years from when they both were there. Shazza was in the first Casino Battle Royale All Out 5 years ago. She wrestled some Dark stuff when Dark was still a thing. Then the pandemic happened and she got stuck in Australia. She has self-funded getting over here and getting a visa. She moved to the US last year and has been basically, from what I've seen on Twitter, just going nonstop. So they have two, I guess, separate trajectories, because obviously we saw how high Toni Storm has gotten, but you kind of see that this Toni Storm kind of seems to be kind of going that way, where she's working herself up, because after she won last night, she grabbed the mic and said, "I can't believe it. I'm officially all elite." And then they talked to her backstage. Or no, actually, before we get to that, Tony Schiavone was doing an interview with Thunder Rosa about Mariah May's remarks, and Thunder Rosa was getting ready to accept her match, and then Toni Storm comes up, interrupts them, shakes her hand, and introduces herself, calls Tony Schiavone a legend, introduces herself, and then just leaves. And Thunder Rosa just kind of moved. She just kind of was like, "What was that?" And then she continues on, and she told Mariah May that she wants a Tijuana street fight at World's End. And so there's on Twitter, they showed an interview with Toni Storm afterwards, and Toni's just talking about how happy she is to be here. She would have never, 10-year-old Toni Storm would never believe this. And then Mark Briscoe walks out, and I don't think Mark Briscoe knew what was happening based on his reaction. And she yells, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's Mark Briscoe. Like, he's the best," and all this stuff. And you see Mark's hands, like he does his whole like, I don't think he realized, like, I don't think he was in on what was happening, and he just happened to walk out at the perfect time. It's really funny. I would definitely check it out just to see. So I'm interesting to see where they're going with this. And Jeter not Jeter, it's Jeter, realized that I've been saying Chris's last name wrong for years. I've just learned this when he moved over to Blue Sky. Our entire Daily DDT Slack realized we have been saying Chris's name wrong, so I apologize again. I'm trying to get in the habit of pronouncing it correctly. But Chris says he's just popping in to say hey, and that Toni wrestling on Rampage makes sense since she's cosplaying as the happy to be here new signing. Yes, exactly. And then Lady B says the Toni Storm storyline is giving daytime soap vibes, and I'm here for it.
Totally. I love this Toni Storm because this is a Toni Storm I remember. And a lot of people they messed up with her when she went to WWE. So she took she got sidetracked for a while. Like, she used to be a badass. They used to chant for her. Like, it was awesome. And I think it's kind of fun because they're doing the thing where she doesn't remember, I guess, that she was timeless Toni Storm at all.
Yeah, I feel like, because she announced her retirement.
I like this, and then that was what I almost in the thingy, except it was too obscure. I almost in the title put Toni Storm unretired or back from retirement, because I remember that in Japan or whatever that was, that she retired, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, and then the Charlotte feud happened with Toni. Yes, but my feeling is probably that Toni is so distraught that she has lost the AEW championship. That was her entire identity. She went to Mexico, lost in Mexico, went to Japan. Same thing happened. Yes, she did team with Mina, but Toni, and so I think Toni cannot cope. Timeless Toni cannot cope with this. She has, I don't think, because some people think she has amnesia, which is possible. That's
I don't think it's amnesia. I think it's more like repressed memory.
I think she is so distressed. She's gone back to a time when she was happy, when she was trying to find herself. She's clearly doing that again. She's finding herself all over again. But I feel like she's so distraught that she's pretending the timeless stuff didn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't know that she will acknowledge that that she's won a title. Perhaps she tries to become Mariah May. Maybe she reverses and she tries. She wants to be all about Toni. Maybe she's gonna realize that Mariah is who she wants to be. Maybe that's where I don't quite know what the end game is here, but I feel like Toni is. And then Sean Ross Sapp tweeted last night and said that this is timeless Toni cosplaying Toni Storm, which
funny.
Seems fairly accurate. I know we're only 2 matches in. We don't quite know where this is going.
I love it. I don't. I'm sorry that most of the internet doesn't like fun, but I think this is great, and I think that Toni just keeps making me happy.
Yeah.
She keeps doing these great things that are working in there she's over without like killing the division. She's doing all these fun things. Like this storyline it continues to be engaging. It's like, okay, but you're still arguing about it and you're still throwing down about you want her to be this or you want her to be that, which makes her one of the like top draws right now in the product, which is super awesome.
Yeah, I was trying to find this tweet that I retweeted last night because someone had sent it to one of the Slacks I'm in, and it said Toni turned timeless after she was after this curb stomp at All In 23, which is was that Saraya and I can't see who that. I can't tell if that's Britt that curb stomped her at All In. And then he says she turned back into Toni Storm after this Storm Zero at All In 24, which obviously she was still timeless Toni when she went to Japan and Mexico, but in AEW we have not seen timeless Toni Storm since All In, and that Storm Zero, they're saying, turned her back into the Toni Storm she was when she arrived in AEW, which is an interesting little.
I love that she has alts. I think it's cool. Like it's fun.
Yeah, and I've seen some people say like, and I get it that they don't like they don't trust the booking to let this play out, which I can understand that.
I guess, however, except that they told that
Toni Storm and RJ City. I mean, obviously Tony Khan was working on it as well, but RJ City was very integral to the story. But they've been telling the story for more than a year. They told it before Mariah got here. They've been telling the story for a very long time. I don't think that they're just gonna drop it. And
why can't they keep telling the story?
Right. And I feel like Toni Storm has invested so much into this that she is going to keep doing that. And I feel like she is going to, keep whatever this version of her is. And I think she's just very distraught over, losing the title. And now she has to come back. And she has to, this is where she was. She has to prove herself all over again. She's got to start. She's wrestling Shazna McKenzie, who is an unsigned talent. She's wrestling Harley Cameron, who has 60 matches under her belt. Like, she is proving herself. And like you said, she's not taking away from the title picture or anything, but she's still very much involved in the scene already. Like, having her back makes a huge impact. And I think so it'll just be interesting. Maybe it's going to be a parallel type of thing where her going as Mariah goes through her title stuff. Maybe we see Toni kind of just, I'm not quite sure. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm interested to see where it goes. And because Toni Storm has been telling this story so well, I we'll give her the benefit of the doubt to continue telling whatever story that she's telling and just enjoy the ride as we go and see what happens. Hopefully that means she'll start having longer than, like, I think her match on Friday was like 6 or 7 minutes. Last night was like 5 minutes. So hopefully we get some longer matches in here. But maybe that's her point. Maybe she's trying to say, hey, you give the stars most of the time, you give the bigger women in the division 10 and 12 minutes, but these younger women who are working up, you tend to give them 5 to 7 minutes. So maybe it's probably just wishful thinking on my part. But Mariah May even said in that interview with Renee, she said, I'm here to prove to you that women deserve more than 5-minute matches on Dynamite. So I appreciated Mariah pointing that out. So maybe perhaps Toni's kind of pointing that out as well, because she's been having, because I mean, she's only had 2 matches back. She's wrestled about 12 minutes in those 2 shows, and she's been wrestling, she had been when she was champion, and she had been getting longer matches. And Mercedes gets long matches, especially in pay-per-views, which she should, rightfully so. She probably demands, 18 to 20 minute matches, which she should get, and more women should. So maybe that's another conversation that is happening as well. So I'm interested.
How long was last night's Willow match? Because that was a really good
12 minutes.
So it was a decent, because that was like a strong style. I mean, that was like
that match was.
That was like 90s women, Japanese, like level.
Yeah, they really showed out. That was a fantastic match. Yeah, they got 12:04.
I was like, this seems like they even gave them. Okay, so I mean,
and I take that back. Toni and Shaza lasted 1 minute and 48 seconds.
Yeah, it wasn't very long, but I mean, I think we kind of knew that, but that's okay.
And Toni and Harley lasted 7.5 minutes. So I take that back. She's wrestled wrestled like 9 minutes since she's been.
Of course, they're gonna slow burn Toni in this situation. She's gonna come back a bunch. She'll probably pretend she forgot she can. I loved that she announced that she was all elite, and that killed me. I was like, this just keeps getting better. I love it. And I'm with you. I think benefit of the doubt, they've done an incredible job. This is one of the best stories AEW's ever told, period.
For me in wrestling, this was the best story in 2024.
Oh yeah.
By far.
And everybody's interested. Look at the pop. That Julia Hart, with the women's division, look at the pop Julia Hart got when she came back last night. And
somebody pointed it out last night too, that they and I think it was Paul, and I agree that they let Willow win clean. I mean, yes, the lights did briefly go out, but not enough. That was mid-match, and the match still continued. So it didn't have that much of an effect on what happened. It just opened her up for Willow to hit a cannonball off the apron, and the match continued for several minutes after that. But then once Willow got to the back, then Julia came and attacked Jamie, which I appreciate that they let her have, because my theory was that she was just going to cost Jamie,
mess up the match,
is what I was worried about. And so thankfully they didn't do that. I'm really excited to see Julia versus Jamie. I think Eddie asked somewhere further up, do we get Jamie and Julia at World's End? I sure hope so, because that to me is a pay-per-view worthy match, especially when they're just kind of throwing matches around, especially if you go look at the final. If you go look at the final battle card, some of it is in story and some of it they're just throwing shit on there. They got a QT Marshall match on the ROH.
I think they know
that man hasn't been in ROH in months, and he and Jay Lethal have a final battle match. So
I think they know at this point that only 12 of you are watching the weekly TV, and the rest of the people are only buying the pay-per-views. So,
but why would you? I'm sorry, QT Marshall and Jay Lethal are not selling pay-per-views in 2024.
You don't have to tell me that. I'm with you, girl.
Matt Cardona is not selling ROH pay-per-views. I mean, maybe some of the people who do love him in GCW, because I will say Matt Cardona has done incredible stuff in GCW. He has completely rebuilt himself and has made himself a ton of money, and he has shown that you can make money in the indies. And so I do applaud him for that. But as far as the story that they're telling, and I think we're getting the story for other reasons, which we will get into, whole other episode. We'll be here for 45 more minutes if I start talking about that. But So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And if we do get a TV, all I hope is if they've got this belt in Jericho, they better get a fucking TV deal, because otherwise you're wasting time.
What a waste.
Shane Taylor should be your champion. I've been saying this for months. He should be your world champion. And you got it on Chris Jericho, who at least tells you that Honor Club is $9.99. You can get it at Watch ROH. I mean, I think it's what is that? Watch.
Oh my gosh, you mean
so? At least he at least
product?
Yeah, he at least plugs the product when he's on there. So at least I appreciate that.
I mean, he's so used to it from his podcast. That makes sense. And he
That's
wants,
true.
and I mean, to Jericho's credit,
sometimes
he
his
does
podcasting does help.
He wants eyes on him no matter what. I mean, I've read enough of his books at this point to know that he wants the attention. So he'll tell people, he'll plug that crap all day long. I mean, he should teach.
Listen,
that's the stuff you should be learning from the learning tree.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I said, that's the stuff you should be learning from the learning tree. Pushing the product.
Well, you can, I associate Omaha Steaks with Chris Jericho now.
Me too.
That's
he did retweet. My mother-in-law bought us a little bit of the bubbly one Christmas, and we had matching jammies because we do that for Christmas. And we had that picture, and he actually, of course, retweeted it because we had his product. And matching jammies.
Yes. And Nikki said that we'll go back to this Toni Storm thing. She said that we were on a delay watch it. Yeah, we were a little late on Dynamite because we were doing some other things. And because also, as much as one thing that I've learned from Blue Sky, and we talked about a few weeks ago, is leaves his plants. But my plants were not covered on Wednesday, and I realized it was going to get cold. And so before Dynamite started, it was windy. And so Nikki and I had to run out there and go cover up the garden because we have mints and rosemary, and their leaves are in there as well. And, and some lavender. Had to go protect them. Then had to deal. We got back. We started again, and then the animals kind of started doing their thing. So we had to cut them off yet. But regardless, so we were a little behind. And so she was watching. I had retweeted a Lee Moriarty video because Lee went and he shared if you're not familiar, Lee is also a painter. He's very good. And he had his first show in Miami last week, and he showed his artwork. So AEW had retweeted it was like a little 1.5-minute video of him showing his art and talking to him and things like that. It was really cool. And so Nikki was watching that. Now that the stupid bird app automatically sends you into the next video like it's Facebook, it went into Toni Storm's return, and so Nikki saw it before we saw it on TV. And Nikki did say that she wasn't big on the original Toni character, which I have some friends who were not big on that character either. But she said that she already loves this.
This is fun. I'm excited.
And I don't think I put this up earlier, but hi, Colin. I did see your comment. I meant to put it up earlier. Thank you to Keela, who said she's in the grocery store, but she had to drop in super fast to welcome me back. You sound great, my friend, and Toni Storm freaking rules. Thank you, Keela. And again, thank you so much for filling in. I appreciate it. You're welcome to crash anytime. You don't have to have an invite. Just
we have a third chair just here for you. So just in case.
You're any old time. We will not turn on you like the New Day turn on Big E.
Correct. I'm not watching, but I trust you.
Oh my God, that segment was so good. I got swerved. And I was so mad and I was so happy. Like, I loved everything about it and I hated everything about it at the same time. That was one of the most well executed things I've seen in wrestling.
They're actually doing something entertaining.
It's because they're letting New Day is in charge of creative for their story. And if they continue to allow New Day to tell the story they want to tell, this could go down as an all-time wrestling story.
So dope. I might even tune in for that.
I will find you the link of the whole segment because they were there for their 10th anniversary show, and because they've been, the Kofi and Xavier have been at odds for weeks, and so some people thought it was going to end up with them splitting. My theory was that Big E was going to show up, was going to keep them from breaking up, was hopefully going to be maybe their manager or something like that, since he can't wrestle. And that seemed to be where they were going. Big E did offer that, and then there was a big swerve, and it ended up being a completely different direction than I thought they were going. And it was really incredibly well done. And I was very, like I said, I was very happy with it, but it was also very sad because I love the New Day so much, and I hate that they're fighting and that they could turn them apart. But I am really excited for, if they continue to let it play out the way it has been, this could go down as one of the best storylines that people are going to be talking about in 10 to 15 years if they let it play out the way that they do. And Nikki said that New Day segment was so painful. It's so good.
That's good. I like to hear that, though. I mean, I love those guys.
And Lady B said the New Day stuff is so great. I love people finding all the anime Easter eggs. There's the layers to it for the people of at all viewing levels. It's rewarding. Yeah. And so I'm not an anime person, but I saw the next day somebody's TikTok got posted to Twitter. It was like 3.5 minutes, but it kind of, for people who like myself who don't watch anime, it kind of broke down some stuff that's happening in their storyline. And knowing what I know about Xavier specifically, but also Kofi, knowing that
they like anime and video games and all of that.
And so knowing that they've kind of parlayed this into the story makes perfect sense. And I'm really excited I'm hoping that since I have to watch the product, that I'm glad that I have something I can get invested in and love. And these are guys I've been invested in since day one. Like when people did not like New Day, they were booing them and all this stuff. Nikki and I were like, what are these people not getting? Like I could see, of course I did not foresee what, this decade of greatness that we've had, but I knew that it was something good. It was something special. I was a fan of Xavier's when he was Consequences Creed over in TNA. Longtime Kofi fan. I wasn't super familiar with Big E. I mean, yes, he had been in WWE doing different things, but I missed his NXT run. But I just knew, I was like, there's something about these three, and they figured it out. And obviously 10 years later, here we are. And that's a testament to them. And then on top of that, the same day that this happens was the day that Big E's Players Tribune article came out. And it was really emotional. He talked about like how he never,
his neck injury.
His neck injury, but he talked about like just all these things that he had leading up to it. And he had about, in college, and how basically he had been depressed all this time, and just all these very emotional things. And so here you see Big E hours later on WWE programming, and then what unfolded just, I think, twisted the knife a little bit more. And I think they knew that article was coming that day, and it just played out really, really well. And Lady B said heel New Day versus the USO will be great sometime soon. I hope we get that. And because that's New Day versus the Usos is an all-time.
That's like
tag
a legacy
in WWE, and to have this role reversal, right, could be really, really cool to see play out. And so I'm cautiously optimistic as I end. But if they continue, I'm very happy with the way things have played out this far, and I hope that it continues, in that way, because it's been really good, and I love those guys, and they deserve everything. So I just want them to, I would love to see, like, I hope they get a WrestleMania moment as these versions of themselves. Somebody told me, I can't remember now who it was, somebody on Twitter, this was before Big E came back and we kind of got to where we are now. He was saying that he hoped that they split, and then we got a last man standing match at WrestleMania between the two of them. And I was like, man, that would be really incredible if we got something like that. Now, of course, the story has pivoted a bit, but I hope that they still get their WrestleMania moment, and they get to come in as this version of New Day at WrestleMania would be really cool. So I hope that they get that.
Always a fan of New Day. Always. I was very excited to see Kofi win that title. That was
me too.
One of the highlights of the
and they said, like the week before, they said some really, when we thought they were going to break up, they said some really mean things to each other. Like, it hurt my heart to hear the way they talk to each other. And Kofi told Xavier the reason he's never had a singles title is because he's not good enough. And the way he said it, and then he said, and then Xavier was like, well, you lost your belt in 7 seconds, and brought that whole, it was just really mean, obviously they did what they were supposed to do. And then we got, especially with the following week being the actual the 10-year anniversary celebration, like it played out really well. And I'll have to find you the clip of the entire segment because it's definitely worth watching. To see the work that they did there was I can't say enough good things about it, obviously.
Right on. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Because it gives you something to enjoy on there.
Yes.
While you're getting paid.
Right.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I think that'll probably, is that good? You think?
Yeah. We probably should cut it off.
We want to make sure that Sam gets the good rest.
I can tell it's getting a little not as strong as
I like it. I think this is good timing anyway. I think we did this perfect.
Yes.
Just what we were gonna do. Oh, that's an hour right exactly there.
Yep.
So let's see. So we will keep you guys posted on our Power Bombshells socials. So at Power Bombshells on pretty much anything except Blue Sky yet. I will probably be taking care of that soon, just because for the sake of having the if for nothing. I went to capture it this week and got distracted because that happens.
Yep.
So life. But just stay tuned into us. We'll keep you guys posted. Maybe
the plan is we'll moving forward. We should be here again. The holidays kind of may play into that some as well.
And we may keep them short. If we
we may short. Hopefully maybe we'll have. Thank you, Lady B. Hopefully by the time the World's End pre-show gets around, maybe we'll have some people come hang out with us like we did with the full year episode. At least I won't be in the chat this time. I'll at least can verbally give you my picks, but maybe we'll have a guest or two come hang out with us so that it doesn't, that
way I'll break up you guys hearing the sound of my voice way too much.
Yes,
because we don't need that. We don't want you guys to get too bored.
Okay. Right. So we'll try.
Learn to love it, guys. All right.
And so we may just do the more abbreviated shows in the meantime, and even after, we'll just see how things go after the pre-show, because we do at some point we want to do an annual like best of, like we talk about that type of thing. And I actually had to think about that because Wrestling Inc. Miles over there put together a form, and we all had to fill. So I had to do a lot of thinking about trying to figure out match of the year. I spent way too much time on it. I still don't even know that that's my match of the year. I just really we had 3. And so I went through all of those, realized I had forgotten, left things off I have a list that I keep up with all year long, and realized I'd left some things off, had to go back and fill that out. Had to think about, there are different categories too. It was like best talker of the year, best promo of the year. So that type of stuff too, was kind of played in, and it's not just AEW and WWE, it expands. It can include independent wrestling. So of course I included some independent wrestling. I was going to say,
if it's not just the 2 major North American brands,
it's basically anything qualifies. So I'm already thinking about those things. So I was like, oh, it's Mel and I will have to get ready to do our best of, and then it was of course, best wrestler of the year. And I'm like, well, it's got to be, this person's, a given, but then also this person. And it's just, so I was like, Mel and I will have that conversation. So hopefully my voice will get strong enough that we don't have to break that into 5 episodes. We can do it all in one go for you.
I guess. If we keep them this short, maybe Garrett will put them on the audio feed.
That's true.
Well, okay, so next week is not Christmas, I don't think. So
no, next week is the 22nd.
All right, perfect. Cool. So we'll let you know. We'll keep you posted. But we'll most likely be here. We will.
It may be another hour-long show, so we'll see.
But hey, you love us no matter how you get us, okay?
It's true.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us in the chat. And if you're listening later, watching back later, thank you. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends to subscribe. For every 1,000 subscribers we get, it helps us defeat the channel helps us defeat the algorithm just a little bit more. And we always appreciate you guys. And thanks for waiting us out. And thanks for continuing to be here. And have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
And